Hey, boys and girls. Now that we wrapped up our measurement chapter, we're going to keep moving right along in our book and we're going to start looking at telling time. And I have so many cool teaching clocks in our classroom. Unfortunately, I am stuck at home. So for today, I made my own clock to show you guys, and I just made it out of a paper plate and one of these fasteners or brads, some people call them, and I cut out two little arrows. So that will be our clock for now, and then I'll post the rest of the videos. I'll have to make a trip over to the school because I really want my cool teaching clocks. Anyways, this is a clock. As you all know, we have one right above our smartboard in our classroom, and our clocks have the numbers 1 through 12. A clock goes up to 12, right? And clocks have two hands. That's what we call these arrows. We call them hands, and they're two different sizes, which helps us. And mine on this clock, my teaching clock, are two different colors too, and I believe they are in your book as well. So the way that I like to remember it though, is this is the word hour. H-O-U-R. That's hour when you're talking about time. And this is the word minute. Minute is a longer word, so it has the longer arrow. Hour is a short word, so it has a short arrow. So clocks don't have the words hour and minute written on them, and most of the time the two hands look the same. The arrows look the same color. So the way to know which one is which is to remember that the small one is for the small word, hour, and the bigger one is for the bigger word, which is minute. Okay, so we have our hour hand and our minute hand. So on page 710 in your book, it explains this right at the top. It says the short hand is the hour hand. The hour hand tells us what hour it is. So we look to see what number it's pointing at. The long hand is the minute hand, and it points to the minutes that we're at. So when the minute hand points to the 12, see, this is why I want my teaching clock. The minute hand points all the way to the 12. That's what we call our o'clocks. O'clocks. So what we would do is we'd say, oh, the minute hand's on the 12. We look to see where our hour hand is, and here it's at the 2. So it's 2 o'clock. If it was here, it would be, 5 o'clock. So for today, we're just going to practice with our o'clocks. Okay? So here it says when the minute hand points to the 12, we say o'clock. This clock in the book is showing 3 o'clock. Right? So if we look at the bottom here, they did the first one for us. Let's look at the second one so you guys can understand what they want you to do today in your math book. So they want you to see what is the hour hand pointing to. So they want you to know to find the shorter one, which is this little blue one, and see what is it pointing to. Here it's pointing to the 9. And the minute hand is pointing to the 12. So we say that it is 9 o'clock. And if we were to write that, we would write 9 and then dot, dot like that, and then 0, 0. That's our 9 o'clock if you're looking at a digital clock. And you're probably used to seeing it that way, like on your TV, your cable box, and your microwave or your oven. Right? That's how we usually see it, but this says 9 o'clock, and so doesn't this. Okay, so let's do one more together. So they want to know, where is our hour hand pointing? Remember, hour is a short one. It's pointing to the 3. And the minute hand is pointing all the way up to the 12. The key thing to remember is that whenever the minute hand is pointing to the 12, it's an o'clock. So right now it's 3 o'clock. Right? And if you were looking at this on a digital clock, it'd be 3 dot dot 0 0 3 o'clock. Okay, so for page 711, they tell you the o'clock. They say 10 o'clock, and they want you to draw the hands. So when you're drawing it, you're going to be drawing your minute hand pointing to the 12, because that's our o'clocks. And remember, the minute hand is longer, so you're going to make it all go right up to the 12, little arrow. And then your hour hand is going to be pointing to the 10. So remember, just be very careful to make your hour hand a lot shorter so that they can tell the difference. Hour hand is shorter, so they want you to draw the two hands. You're going to do the same thing for 2 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and 8 o'clock. So all of these o'clocks. So your minute hand is going to be right up there. to the 12 because that's our o'clocks. And then you look at where your hour hand is pointing. Here it's 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 6 o'clock. What about when they both point to the same spot? They're both at the 12. That means it's 12 o'clock. Easy peasy. For number 12, it says to write a time and draw the hour and the minute hands to show the time. So you're going to pick the o'clock that you're going to pick. So you need to pick a number 1 through 12. There can't be a 13 o'clock or a 14 o'clock. It's only 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, or 12 o'clock. Okay, so you're going to pick your own o'clock, write it in there, draw the hands on the clock, and then you're going to draw a picture to show an activity that you do at that time. Right? So think about if you pick 12 o'clock. Maybe that's around when you eat lunch, or maybe 3 o'clock is when you go for a walk or walk the dog, and 5 o'clock might be dinner. So whatever it is you do at the time you pick, you're going to draw a little picture in that box. Got it? Easy peasy. Over on the back, we have some word problems. And it says, look for patterns. Sarah wakes up at 7 o'clock. Draw the hands to show 7 o'clock. Look, we just did that with all of these. All they did was add a little more words in the directions. All you got to do is draw the hands to show 7 o'clock. Each string on a guitar makes a different sound when it vibrates. Joe starts tuning his guitar at 9 o'clock. It takes him 1 hour to finish. So if it's 9 o'clock, and it's going to take 1 hour. So every time this minute hand makes it all the way around and back up to the 12, that's an hour, all the way around the full clock. So 9 o'clock, 1 hour. Yep, you're going to put in the answer right there. Karen starts playing soccer 1 hour after 5 o'clock. All right, well, what comes after 5? Draw the hour and minute hands on the clock to show what time she started playing. So you know it's an o'clock, so you're going to draw your minute hand up to the 12, and then instead of 5 o'clock, you're going to do 1 hour later. So it's going to be 6 o'clock. And then write a sentence about an activity you might do at that time. So at 6 o'clock, I walk my dog. At 6 o'clock, I have a snack. At 6 o'clock, we eat dinner. At 6 o'clock, I play soccer. You pick. And number 16, Bill likes to read after 3 o'clock and before 5 o'clock. So it's after 3, but before 5. So what number's in the middle there? That's right. So you're going to choose the clock that shows that time. So it can't be that one. That's 3 o'clock. Yeah. It's 5 o'clock. That's 9 o'clock, and that's 4 o'clock. So which one shows the one in between 3 and in between 5? Between 3 and 5. Okay, so moving on to page 713, they give you another look, which is a little lesson up here reminding you that there's an hour hand, which is the little one, and a minute hand, which is the big one. And anytime the big one, the minute hand, points to the 12, it's an o'clock. And we know which o'clock by looking at the hour hand. So you're going to do the same thing on these bottom 3 that we did on the very first page, where we write where the hour hand is and where the minute hand is. So here the hour hand is on the 8. The minute hand is on the 12. That means it's 8 o'clock. So you're just going to fill those in. And on the back, you're going to do more practice drawing your own hands. Remember when you draw them to make sure that you can tell that one is longer than the other, right? So at 10 o'clock, you want your minute hand that's pointing to the 12 to be the longer one, and your hour hand that points to the 10 to be shorter. So you're going to fill in the hands on those. And then write a good time for eating lunch. Then draw an hour and a minute hand. So think about, when do you eat lunch? You're going to write which o'clock around you eat lunch, and then draw the hands. And then last, every Saturday Rachel wakes up after 6 o'clock and before 9 o'clock, which tells the time she might wake up. All right, so after 6, but before 9. So somewhere in this window, she wakes up. So you need to choose the right one. So you should have no problem with this because we're only doing our o'clocks, but it could be helpful if you have a paper plate at home, and you don't have to use one of these fasteners. You could use a paper clip. You can use anything. This is just a fastener that opens up and attaches to the back. So right? You can make your own paper plate clock at home. That will probably come in very handy for this lesson as well as the rest of the lessons in this topic. When we're practicing telling time, it's a lot easier to be looking at and using a clock. So you can make your own paper plate clock if you'd like to. But remember, the o'clock minute hand, the bigger hand, points to the 12. That's the key in this first lesson in this chapter. So if you can remember that, you're all set.